Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one, about OP's ex-wife, who is demanding OP takes their children on his honeymoon. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Good evening. To start, my ex-wife and I divorced 6 years ago. She moved on and got married so fast, I couldn't believe it, since we were high school sweethearts. We were sharing custody of our 2 kids, 7 and 9 at the time. She got busy with her new husband, new house, and I did most of the children's care for 2.5 years. Then she got pregnant and counted on me to take care of the kids. I had no problem. In fact, this was a blessing I got to spend more time with the kids. I got married to my now wife a month ago. My ex asked if I was going to take the kids with me on the honeymoon. I said no, and asked if she could have them for a week. She refused. She said she had work, although she always caused a scene to have them for a week. Her husband said he isn't willing to watch them. Those are his stepchildren, but I see why the kids and him aren't close. My ex threw a fit when I said my in-laws were willing to watch the kids. She called me crazy to abandon the kids with strangers they've only known for 3 years. She started demanding I take them with me. I argued with her, calling her unreasonable, but she called me a horrible, horrible father. She began bad-mouthing me to my kids, asking them if they're comfortable living with their dad's new wife. Even told them we were leaving for good. I was ducking livid. My wife and I assured them none of this was true, and explained how every newly married couple get this special time together. I didn't just leave. I gave them tasks to decide what they want their new rooms to look like after renovations. I went over to my ex's place and the argument started. She kept saying I shouldn't put my new wife before my children and abandon them like that. She took notes to talk to her lawyer about my behavior. She called my wife a witch and that she didn't trust her with the kids. I blew up at her, telling her to have some respect. Her husband started mocking me, wishing me a terrible time and for the plane to never land. Then he told me to be careful not to come home with a baby already, since I had no problem ditching my kids so easily. I told them to duck off. Then I left. My mother-in-law came and picked up the kids. She was excited to do things with them. This is a chance for them to bond. When we came back, my ex and her sister never stopped berating me for not taking the kids, saying the kids are in for a miserable life with my new wife. I told them to stop it, but they kept guilting me, saying I acted like a neglectful father, putting my kids last on the list. OP is definitely not an a-hole. I think OP should record these interactions. OP's ex sounds like a psycho. She sounds bizarrely jealous of OP remarrying. As soon as she starts with her threats and her ranting and her insults, OP should take out your phone and start filming. OP needs to be prepared to take her to court if this escalates, because she's trying to poison OP's kids against OP and his new wife. And they are still young, and she is their mother. It's dangerous and very wrong. My 17 male, older sister, 26 female, have been married for 3 years now, and she and her husband, 28 male, have a 2-year-old son. A few days ago, she came back to our parents' home and she told us that she had a fight with her husband and if she could stay with us for a few days. She and her husband had a fight. She told us that she believed that her husband didn't appreciate much what she did around the house and that she is tired of doing anything alone and tired of being a mother. The problem is that she literally does nothing. When their child were a few months old, she said that she was tired of having to take care of the housework and taking care of their son. My brother-in-law have a really good job where he makes a lot of money. So, to help my sister, he hired a maid. Since then, my sister never had to deal with the housework. Since then, up to today, they still have the maid to come and do the work. When my nephew was turning 1 year old, my sister told my brother-in-law that she was tired of being a mother, and she needed a time for herself sometimes. My brother-in-law have a good job, but it is also very demanding, so alongside with the maid, he also hired a babysitter for most of the days. The only time where the babysitter isn't with their son is when he comes home or the weekends when he doesn't work. When he comes home from work, he'd do the laundry. He is the one responsible for cooking, and also the one responsible for taking care of their garden. Everything else is done by the maid. He is also the one responsible for getting my nephew to bed. My sister wanted to be a stay-at-home mother. When she and my brother-in-law discovered she was pregnant, she told him that it was she being a stay-at-home mom or divorce. But now that she doesn't do anything on the house or even need to take care of their son, she doesn't want to go back to work. Most of the time, she usually go out with her girlfriends or watch Netflix. My brother-in-law was even worried that she might be depressed or something and tried to ask her to go to a therapy, but she refuses. She believes it is degrading for a person. Apparently, their fight a few days ago was because my nephew's birthday is coming up, and she decided to make an invitation card for the celebration, but apparently, she forgot my nephew's name. She and her husband got into a huge fight, and she ended up deciding to leave. After hearing their reason for the fight, and she telling us that he doesn't appreciate what she does, I ended up saying that, in reality, she doesn't do much, and she wasn't a stay-at-home mom, and that she should appreciate that her husband have been put up with all of this until now. She got angry at me, but my mother ended up being on my side, but I'm really feeling bad now that I'm thinking about what I have said. Update. A lot of you told me that it wasn't normal for my sister to forget information that is common in your life, and that it was very strange that my sister simply forgot my nephew's name. Both my mother and my brother-in-law decided to sit my sister down and talk to her while I took care of my nephew. We were worried about a possible postpartum depression, so we had to at least take our sister to a doctor. Basically, about my sister not wanting to see a therapist. Apparently, she was already seeing one, but didn't told anybody, not even my brother-in-law. According to her, she told us that she started to have doubts about being a mother. While she was pregnant, she was over the moon about having a baby, but after my nephew was born, she started to think otherwise. So she decided to seek therapy, but she was ashamed of it because she thought that we wouldn't see her a good mother. So she didn't told us. But after some time, some of her friends started to talk to her about things that she only talked to the therapist, and she found out that one of her friends was paying money to her therapist to get information about her. She was terrified that her friend was doing that and immediately dropped the therapy. This is the reason she didn't want to seek therapy when tried to talk to her about it. She tried, and the therapist was giving other people information about her, so she didn't trust mental health professionals anymore. After that, she lost some friends because they didn't like that she dropped the therapist just because he was giving them information, and she didn't want to stop being friends with them. So the reason she was always going to friends' meetings was because she was trying to be friends with them again. Then they got to the part about the recent memory problems, and she told us that she have been forgetting a lot of things lately. It took us some convincing, but they ended up convincing her to go see a doctor for that. And we are trying to convince her that not all health professionals are like that, and that if the doctor recommends her to seek a counselor or therapist, to please try. But it probably will take us some time. She apologized for not trying to talk to us about it, and promised to look after a doctor, and my brother-in-law decided to take some time off to go with her and to be at her side. My nephew will be staying with me and my mother for a time, so they can sort things off for a while. I don't believe for 1 second that OP's sister's friend were paying off the therapist for hot gossip. It sounds like she is losing her grip on reality. She probably mentioned therapy or her issues to her friends, forgot she said anything. Then when her friends talked about it, became paranoid. I think OP's sister needs serious medical intervention as soon as possible. I would even ask who her old therapist is, under the guise of reporting him, to go and try and find out for herself or OP's brother-in-law what really happened, or if she was even seeing a therapist at all. My sister-in-law is obese simply due to poor diet and lack of exercise. To cope with her insecurities, she tries to point out my non-existent flaws. I struggle with my weight due to a health issue that I managed with my doctor through diet and exercise, and had an eating disorder as a teen. It's not been easy to maintain my weight. I have been one of sister-in-law's low targets for 3 years. Each time I addressed her comments and asked her not to speak to me like that. Each time, sister-in-law said I was too sensitive, she was only joking, or that I was overreacting. We joke and use sarcasm in this family, she told me repeatedly. Recently, I saw her at my baby shower. I'm pregnant with 2 girls, which another reason I want this to stop. In front of everyone, she points to my face and loudly comments, "Wow, 2 chins, 1 for each baby." I don't have a double chin, so I looked at her and said, "Well then congratulations, you must be expecting triplets." Ensue the 20-year-old temper tantrum, complete with arm waving, waterworks, and the "you're so mean, you called me fat" accusations. I calmly stated, "You told me that you use sarcasm in this family and that I was being too sensitive. I don't understand why you're upset if this is what this family does." Now, my mother-in-law is involved, demanding an apology. She has seen the entire exchange and has seen her pick on my weight repeatedly. Husband explained she is of the mindset that because you are the thin one, you shouldn't be offended because sister-in-law cannot help herself. Mother-in-law has also stated you're too sensitive and she was just kidding. Defense in the past. Am I the a-hole? In my opinion, OP is not an a-hole. Sister-in-law is clearly jealous of OP. Only an a-hole picks on a pregnant woman at her baby shower. I'd consider keeping contact to a bare minimum. OP doesn't need that kind of negativity in her life. Currently, I am staying with my mom and stepdad in Bumduck Nowhere, USA. They live out in the country about 30 minutes from the nearest town. My stepbrother, Carl, 25 male, and my sister, Jenny, 23 female, is also here. I, 21 female, just finished school in September, so things aren't looking too hot in the job market right now. I have more time on my hands than is probably good for me, so I started helping around the house, cooking, etc. My stepdad is an amazing chef, but he is veggie, so I have been learning how to cook his favorite foods. It wasn't intention, but Carl, Mom, and I have started eating mostly vegetarian meals. We also have started going for walks around the area, since there is no one around for a few miles, and I have been using the treadmill and weights in the garage. Carl loaned me his bike, and we have been riding around the area. We have 2 dogs as well, so I take them for walks. In the 6 weeks since I have been here, I have lost 32 pounds. Carl lost 20 plus, and my mom, who doesn't weigh herself, says she went down into her old jeans. Even stepdad has lost some inches. The other night, Erica asked to talk with me. She says she feels left out. I don't make time for her, and she feels alienated because she isn't veggie with the rest of us. She has to make her own meals, since she doesn't like what I usually make, and she is out of shape, so bike riding and hiking are not really her thing. I told her I was very sorry and we would hang out tomorrow if she wanted. We would watch some TV or play a board game or just talk. The next day, I get up at 7, make breakfast, go to the garage and work out a little. I let the dogs out and put in some laundry. I also went for a quick bike ride with Carl. By the time I got back, Erica was still in bed. So I made lunch for everyone, including a sandwich for Erica, and went to wake her up for lunch. She asks if I just got up. I told her no, I did XYZ before lunch, 11 a.m., and she usually sleeps until noon anyways. She got this look on her face and said she wanted me to not do all that stuff. She wanted me to just have a lazy day with her. I said that while I wanted to spend time with her, I wasn't going to stop working out. I was going to continue doing it. This is where I think I might be the a-hole. She said everyone in the family was doing stuff without her. She didn't want to go for walks or bike rides. She wanted us to take an interest in her interests. She felt fat because now everyone was getting in shape and she was gaining weight. I told her, then you need to put in the work. We eat healthy. We walk as a family. You are always invited, but you are miserable because you let yourself be miserable. No one is kicking you out of the family. You just don't want to exercise, so it's not our fault. Erica started crying and didn't come out of her room all evening. OP is not an a-hole. It's her own fault, and she has to decide for herself. OP won't be able to make her exercise if she doesn't want to. Also, it sounds like she has a childish attitude. OP being honest about her behavior to her isn't wrong. It is wrong to expect all the family to stop being healthy just because she doesn't want to be healthy. Don't let people like this ever guilt you into living a worse life.